A Man Does Not Beg by HeadOfSpectre. And this is not going to be safe for work. Have you ever felt true desperation? I'm talking about absolute hopelessness. A low point you can't escape from, because escaping is like trying to bail out the Titanic with a spoon. I do. About 4 years ago, my 16-year-old daughter, Dakota, got sick. It started slowly. She'd complain about headaches. Her grades started slipping. She started becoming more withdrawn. Then came the seizures, the absence episodes, the memory loss. The doctors confirmed that she had a brain tumor. They told me up front that her chances didn't look good, but I still wanted to fight it. I wanted to fight it as hard as I could, with everything I had. I'd lost Dakota's mother to cancer when she was little. I didn't want to lose her too. I couldn't lose her too. I just couldn't. I wouldn't. Cancer is unfortunately an expensive affliction. We didn't have insurance. My job didn't offer it, and I burned through my meager savings within the first month. I knew I'd need more, so I did whatever I could. I started picking up more shifts at work and working overtime. I even got a second job at another warehouse. Every day, I worked a minimum of 12 hours. I came home exhausted and sore, only to sleep, then wake up and do it all again. But I did it for Dakota. It wasn't enough. Her treatment was burning through my paychecks faster than I could make them. The desperation set in. The money we would have spent on food, I spent on her treatment. My meals became canned soup and ramen, whatever I could get that was cheap. I sold whatever I could do without. I even moved us into a smaller apartment to save on rent. The extra income that got me didn't make much of a difference. I tried crowdfunding and that got a bit of traction. It helped for a couple of months, but even that wasn't cutting it. Every day I went deeper and deeper into debt, despite making more money than I'd ever made before. And every day, Dakota got worse and worse. Desperation can take you to low, low places. I tried looking for new ways to make money. I tried finding a higher-paying job, but I had no luck. I made videos about Dakota, hoping to get ad revenue and revitalize the crowdfunding. It didn't make much of a difference. Eventually, the desperation took me so low that I even let myself get suckered into those fucking MLMs. I should have known better than that, but what else was there for me to do? I needed to make money somehow, and some people swore by it. Maybe there was something to it? No, just another waste of my time. Eventually, I stumbled onto the True Men's Boot Camp, and despite the feeling in my gut that this would just be another waste of my time, I had nothing left to lose. The True Men's Boot Camp was an online seminar hosted by a bunch of supposedly popular self-help gurus. People I'd never heard of with names like Joe Bear Simpson, Brad Romano, Steve Savage, and one guy just titled King Cobra. Like I said, going in I didn't suspect much. But from what I'd seen of these guys, all they did was show off their expensive cars, expansive homes in exotic locations, and the countless beautiful women that seemed to flock to them. They had to be making money. Maybe there was something to be learned from them. I doubted it, but what else had worked for me so far? The seminar itself was free, which was a major part of why I joined it. I figured the worst case scenario was that I'd have another hour of my time wasted by a bunch of jackasses. I didn't expect it to go as poorly as it did. Throughout the seminar, they'd had a chat open, where viewers could submit their questions, and at the end of each segment, the current speaker would answer a few. I'd submitted a question of my own early on, although I was already regretting it. I can't say I was impressed with the speakers I saw. Most of them just seemed to talk without saying anything, veering from topic to topic aimlessly, regurgitating a few buzzwords to do with both running a business and picking up women. Some were just self-congratulatory assholes trying to sell their pyramid scheme as hard as they possibly could. I don't get it when people say they don't support MLM. I mean, come on. You don't support marketing? You don't support small businesses? You don't support creating jobs? What are you even talking about? You don't want to be a provider? A man's role in society is to take charge. That means starting a business, becoming an entrepreneur. An alpha male would be wasting their fucking time being just another worker bee. There is nothing, and I mean nothing, more satisfying than being the one in charge. Being the one who owns that business. And I'll tell you right now, girls dig it. Every man, and I mean every man, needs a side hustle. You can't just grind at the office. You need to be grinding 24/7, non-stop. You need to be a machine, because if you're not a machine, you're not getting that money. You're not making your mark, and you're wasting your time. A few of them were nothing short of disgusting.
One thing every man has to know. Every single man needs to know this, because this is life advice here. This will open your eyes. Pussy ages and it goes off. I'm serious. After a certain age, pussy goes off. It loses that tightness. It completely changes. And women, they know this. They absolutely know this. It's why if you meet a woman 24 or older, she's not going to want to fuck. She's going to want to settle down. Because that's when it starts. An alpha doesn't settle. He isn't satisfied with one pussy. An alpha has those genes. It's all in the genes, and he needs to spread them. Like he's going from flower to flower. I mean it. An alpha male has no reason to sleep with a woman over 23. Because that's when the pussy is at its tightest. That's prime pussy right there. And the alpha, he deserves nothing but the best prime pussy.
I'd come here looking for information on how to make more money. And here was fucking Steve Savage spewing this revolting garbage. I almost turned off the seminar right there and then, although I didn't. Primarily out of sheer fascination with the vulgar batshit insanity that left this man's mouth. It's so interesting that you'd mention that, the host had said. It's funny, I don't know if you were listening earlier when King Cobra was on, but he was talking about something similar. See, a woman is like a blank slate at first. They don't really have an identity the way men do. They hit 18 and they're completely blank. Then they meet a man and they get fucked. And then they become a little more like that man. And then they meet another man, and another man, and another man. And every time they get it, a little bit of him stays in them. That's why you get some girls, and it's always the slutty ones, who are completely fucking crazy.
King Cobra knows what's up. That man is a pussy god. But see, that's why I say don't fuck over 23. Because by 24 to 25, she's got like so many different guys in there. If you want to get married, you get in on the ground floor, because then it's only you in there. Most people don't know this, but women can be molded in a way a man can't be. And it takes an alpha to see that.
Who in their right fucking mind would actually believe this garbage? Who in their right fucking mind sold this shit as a business seminar?
Alphas understand that the world can be molded to their wants. It doesn't mold them, they mold it. In business, in sex, in their personal lives, it all comes together. It's all one and the same. They're always in control. It's why people are so fucking scared of them. People fear the alpha. They do. You hear it all the time. They fear what they aspire to be. And that fear, that's the most fucked up thing there is. The alpha male is a dying breed. Because there are men out there, and I pity them, I really do. There are men out there who've been conditioned from birth to believe that there's no place in society for a masculine man. A man who dresses like a man, doesn't wear glasses or skinny jeans or whatever other crap they wear. A man who isn't ashamed to carry a knife, own a gun, eat a fucking steak, or grow a fucking beard. That's insane. That's insane to me. They just want these shaved, vegan, quiet betas sitting in the corner. That's what they want. I don't get it. What kind of example does that set for the kids? I mean, they don't see real men anymore. A man is supposed to be the protector. He's supposed to be a threat. Every time he walks into a room, people should be afraid of him. That's what a man is supposed to be.
The host had laughed as Steve Savage finished his little tirade. Amen, brother, amen. Which reminds me, we've got a question here from one of our viewers. This one's from Rob, and he says, my 16-year-old daughter has been very sick for the past few months. Stage 4 brain cancer. I've tried everything I can to make more money to pay for her treatment. I'm working 2 jobs and picking up extra hours where I can. I've even tried crowdfunding, but I'm not getting anywhere I need to be. Any advice? I recognized that question as my own, and I was almost embarrassed to hear it. I'd rather have taken advice from Dakota's tumor itself than this joker, but I tried to stay optimistic. I really should have known better. Steve Savage just laughed.
Oh my God, is this guy for real?
Yep, this is a real question, the host said.
Wow. That's just fucking sad. I mean, okay, I'm gonna say something controversial here, but a man with a teenage daughter should be able to pay a fucking medical bill. I'm serious. If you can't afford it, then I'm sorry, but you failed as a man. That's just the way it is. If you're struggling so much that you've got to turn to crowdfunding, that's fucking pathetic.
As he spoke, my disgust toward this man turned into straight-up loathing. After all I'd done for Dakota, and this fucking grifter had the balls to call me pathetic? If I'd been in the same room with him, I'd have broken his jaw, and seen how much of an alpha he was then.
Crowdfunding is probably the lowest thing another human being can do. It just is. It's glorified begging. Let me tell you something right now. A man does not beg. He just doesn't. A real man doesn't beg, ever. You shut up. You deal with your problems, and that's that. You don't go on a seminar like this all teary-eyed and complain about your problems. That's weak. I hope this fucking guy is still watching. I do. Because that's the weakest shit I've ever heard. Let me tell you something right now, man. Let me tell you something. You want to come in here and cry and beg? Okay. You come to me. You beg me to save your daughter, and I'll do it. I hate seeing good young pussy go to waste. I'll put the money forward, because I've got that kind of money to spend. Christ, that's like 10% of what I spent on one of my cars. 10%. This fucking guy can't even cough up 10% of what I can throw away without even thinking. Fucking pathetic. Christ. Cancer's probably doing his kid a favor.
The host just laughed at that. He laughed, as if it was funny, and as he did, all I could do was stare at the fucking screen, my hands shaking in rage. I couldn't watch any more of this garbage. I slammed the laptop closed, and I'm not ashamed to admit that when I went to bed that night, I cried myself to sleep. I know. I shouldn't have let it all get to me, but I couldn't help it. When a man is at that kind of low, the last thing he needs is a self-absorbed grifter rubbing his face in the dirt. I couldn't help myself. I cried. Then the next morning, I woke up and got back to work. I recall hearing about some minor internet controversy regarding Steve Savage and his response to a certain fan question during a seminar over the following weeks, but I never paid that much attention to it. All in all, it died down pretty quickly. His fan base was quick to forget. Life just went on, and eventually what happened, happened. I made my peace with it all, surprisingly quickly. I'd done everything I could for Dakota, and in the end, I felt guilty for being glad that it was over. The next time I saw Steve Savage was in a bar in Kalamata, Greece. It had been about 4 years since that fucking seminar. I'd long since moved on with my life and gotten hired by a fairly large company. I worked in their marketing department now and was making decent money. I was by no means a millionaire or anything, but I was comfortable. My boss had called me out to Greece on business and had taken relatively good care of me. I had a nice hotel and a good bit of downtime. We only really spent a couple of days in meetings about the launch of a winter line of products, and there really wasn't that much to discuss. Every other day was spent actually enjoying Greece. I really can't complain about that. I'd actually been in the bar to meet with a colleague when I saw him, sitting in a booth with a young woman. Steve himself was tall and well-built, with a bald head, pierced ears, a lot of tattoos, and aviator sunglasses. The girl looked to be about 20, with messy brown hair streaked with blonde highlights. She wore a pink dress with a skirt that I found a little too short, and white nylon leggings. She either had her head on his shoulder or a hand on his arm at all times, and seemed to be hanging on to his every word, although I was certain I caught her sending a few glances my way. Steve hardly seemed to notice, of course. He was drinking a beer and talking away. I only picked up a few fragments of his conversation, but I was relatively sure that whatever he was saying was painfully stupid. After a bit of thought and a couple of beers, I figured I might as well go and talk to the man. Why the hell not, right? So I picked up my 3rd or 4th beer and made my way over there. "Excuse me, you're Steve Savage, right?" His face lit right up the moment I spoke his name, as if he was thrilled to have been recognized.
"Hey there, brother,"
he said.
"Yes, I am."
"Caught you on a seminar a few years ago," I said, inviting myself to sit down. "You answered a question I sent in."
"Right on,"
he said, and I couldn't tell if it was a statement or a question.
"And now you're out here in Kalamata sipping beers."
I hated the way he said Kalamata. Kalamata. "Well, no thanks to you," I said. I'd actually sent in a question about my daughter. She was pretty sick at the time. Stage 4 brain cancer. Can't say I particularly liked your answer. Almost instantly, I saw some of the bravado drain from his face. It brought me no small amount of joy to see him remember exactly what I was talking about.
"Oh, shit,"
he said.
Yeah, I do remember that."
He smiled sheepishly at the girl before leaning in.
"Nah, I'm sorry about that, man. I was definitely a little out of line there. You get all whipped up into a frenzy and those kind of things. I really didn't think through what I said. I went way too far."
"Yeah, you did," I replied.
"How's your kid? They ever bounce back?"
he asked, half hopeful. "No," I replied. "She never got better. Although someone was kind enough to step in and help. Partially because they found out about what you'd said. So I guess some good came out of the whole thing." Steve forced a smile.
"Well, glad something came out of it,"
he said.
"I am sorry about your loss, though."
"No, you're not," I said, taking a sip of my beer. "But as you said, I'm out here drinking beer in Kalamata, so some of it turned out all right in the end, I guess. That's part of how I got my current job, actually."
"Right on?"
Steve asked. It was obvious he was uncomfortable, but he didn't seem to want to ask me to leave either. "Yep, I work for the marketing department of the Darling Fashion House now. You ever heard of them?"
"Darling?"
he asked.
Yeah, they do handbags and shit, right? I was actually at a party hosted by one of their lead ladies, Mia." She's great. How's she doing?
Really? I asked. I didn't see you at any of the get-togethers this past week. Steve smiled sheepishly.
Well, I've been here for like a month,
he said.
Haven't seen her in a bit.
I'm surprised she'd even deal with you, I added. Mia's actually the one who helped pay for Dakota's treatment during her final days. Like I said, it wasn't enough, but it was sweet of her to try. Steve was back to forcing a smile again.
Maybe I'm getting her mixed up for the other one then. There's two darlings, right? Twins.
Maybe. Although from my experience with Leah Darling, she really isn't the sort of person you party with. I'm not going to lie. It was kind of satisfying watching this son of a bitch squirm in his seat.
Isn't she?
He asked.
Well, it was nice catching up with you, brother, but I've got to go. We'll stay in touch, yeah? I'm sorry you lost your daughter.
Lost her? I asked. What makes you think she's dead? The girl beside Steve had sat there quietly for our entire conversation, but now her hand closed around his arm. He looked at her, eyes widening as she forced him down into his seat. Steve, I'd like to introduce my daughter, Dakota, I said, before nodding at her. I hope he didn't give you too much trouble.
Nope, not at all,
Dakota replied with a smile.
What the hell is this?
Steve asked. Behind us, I saw several of the bar patrons getting up to leave in unison. Even the bartender conveniently went on break. Steve watched them all walk out, one by one. Funny thing about the Darlings, I said. They're apparently two of the most powerful vampires still alive today. When Dakota's cancer grew too severe, Mia offered us a choice. We could let her pass naturally, or she could offer her the gift of vampirism. It would heal her body and allow her to live, only with one small little caveat. Steve's eyes widened as Dakota flashed a knowing smile at him, showing off her razor-sharp teeth. She gave my daughter and I a choice. She chose this, I said, and so we chose. Steve tried to pull away, but Dakota kept him in her iron grip. He let out a terrified whimper as she grabbed him by the throat.
Wait,
he sobbed.
Wait, no. Don't, please. Please.
I said, wagging my finger at him. A man does not beg. As she lunged for his throat, I just watched. I listened as Steve screamed and begged as she tore into him, forcing him down onto the table and swallowing mouthfuls of his blood. And once she drank her fill, she stood aside to let me drink mine. Hey guys and ladies, thanks for watching. Links to all my shit are down in the description. So that was a doozy, wasn't it? I was like, man, people are gonna be squirming at me saying some of this stuff halfway through. But I knew that the payoff was awesome, so. Anyway, I love you guys. Be good to animals, even people.